despite begging you not to, a lot of you reached out and told me reasons why you might put a marble up a cat's butt. And it made me realize something. You know what a cat owner has never said to me? Anything that would make me want to get a cat. We talked about how Ted Cruz once liked a pornographic tweet. He liked it, the date he liked it on? 9/11. So, you know, that's another thing to never forget. You know what? I warmed my heart. Somebody wrote in, "This has officially gotten too odd for me. Thrive in my absence." A lot of people asked, did I throw my paper over? Was that a seeded bit where I threw my paper away and couldn't find it? No. Happened by accident, rolled with it. That's the level I'm operating on. Do you watch any other host do their corrections and watch how they melt down? Everything that happens here, opportunity. Everything that happens in corrections, opportunity. I don't want to steal too much from my TED Talk about it. Opportunity. Someone wrote, "Babies do have wisdom teeth. They're just buried in the jawbone," said a jackal who I will assume is also a grave robber. I talked about Wile E. Coyote. We had this in a closer look. And then, we talked about how Wile E. Coyote would draw a tunnel, and then he would flatten into a pancake, but this is the photo we used for flatten into a pancake. A bunch of you said that's not from when he runs into a tunnel painted on the side of a mountain. That's when he jumps, he falls off a cliff and tries to use a feather to... Anyway, the point is, I don't even have anything to say about this. Sal wrote in this Wile E. Coyote bit, and then, we were rushing to get it done on Monday, and then he was like, "Wait, do you think Wile E. Coyote in this analogy is George W. Bush?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "No, Wile E. Coyote is Saddam Hussein." And I was like, "What are you talking about? It's definitely George W. Bush." And he's like, "No, I'm serious. Like, if you read it, Wile E. Coyote in the analogy," and then both of us at the same time started going, no, because Emily had overheard us and put a gun in her mouth. I said a 69, the sexual position. Don't go right to the number. I said a 69 is when both couples invert. A bunch of you said, "You've both couples invert, you're back to where you started." A P9. When we think about it, right? 69, but if the normal position is a P9. But you don't say that. Interesting, though, bingo used to be called pingo, but they had to change it because every time they said P9, all the old people started. We don't usually do a closer look on Tuesday, but this week we sort of moved our schedule around, and many of you noticed there was a closer look on Tuesday. One jackal wrote, "It's Tuesday. Isn't some random-ass skit or something supposed to be on?" Random-ass skit? You know what I say to that? Leave him alone! I made a joke about the sequel to the movie Cats in the body of a closer look. So someone said you could not have had a sequel to the movie Cats because there was not a sequel to the musical Cats. And many of you pointed out that's crazy. There was a sequel to the movie Mamma Mia, even though there wasn't a musical sequel to the musical Mamma Mia. Someone even said also Andrew Lloyd Webber, composer of Cats, did write a sequel to his hit musical Phantom of the Opera. even though the original book did not have a sequel. This is nuts, though. The title to Andrew Lloyd Webber's Phantom sequel? Cats 2. Cats 2. Talked about anagrams a little last week. Even had an anagram on the back of my card. Many of you solved it. Good job. Someone wrote that Seth Meyers plus pill anagrams to Shirley Temple, which is fitting because when I used to do MDMA, I would go full Temple. Just like on the good ship, lonely, 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 pop, 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 pop. I said Beavis and Headbutt would be a good name for a pair of goats. One of you had an improvement. Ba-vis and Headbutt. I take back improvement. I had higher hopes for you. The next comment. I guess I'm a jackal now, but come on, Karen Reed, hasn't she been through enough without having to deal with barbs and corrections? Do you think post-acquittal, she's watching corrections? But she's like, oh my God, I'm glad that ordeal's over. Oh my, so many corrections to catch up on. Somebody wrote, we talked about the plural of Glock. Someone wrote, actually, the plural of Glock is Glocken. I'd say more about that. But nobody's interested in my Glockenspiel. Glock pun!
Glock pun.
We said the opposite of a clip going viral would be it going bacterial. Someone said a better opposite of viral is non-communicable. And I would just say in general, if you ever have a pitch like that that would make a joke less funny, I invite you to also be non-communicable. You don't have to communicate every idea you have. We had a joke about Trump selling sponsorships for what he's been branding the 12-day war. One of you wrote in and said, why would it be bad for him to brand a war when you've done branded content for Starbucks? Well, I mean, I would say the difference is war is always bad, whereas the cup of Starbucks you hold in your hand is more than just a drink. It's a ritual, you know? It's the final step in an incredible, global, coffee-producing story? Is it okay to call it a story? You think about it, there's a lot of people. Roasters, baristas. I don't know. I guess like with war, you have to have evil in your heart. But at Starbucks, coffee's in their heart. That's just stuff I believe. TJ Huff, our old friend TJ Huff, we haven't heard from him for a while, said he's an artist who's made the original Scollins art, Tank Top Scollins. And he's now an official tattoo artist, and he has made some tattoos that you can actually go into his shop and get. So that's a tattoo. These are for late night people who want to have, there's an Amber tattoo. How about a Jenny tattoo? And this is cool. The Golditch tattoo They have this because if you ask for it, they know you're too drunk to consent. Okay. So here's the deal. If you are a European who is watching Corrections right now, I am about to get granular about the 1990 New York Yankees. So we're gonna just in post we'll add a little like sort of Yankees bug down here, and so you can just zip ahead until the bug goes away, and then you'll know we're not talking about the Yankees anymore. I said if SNL was the New York Yankees, I am the Mike Mussina. And look, I'm not dying to talk about this because obviously every time I talk about or mention SNL, it resets the 6-month clock. Jacqueline's offered me $5 million if I can go 6 months without mentioning SNL. And I do think he's good for the money because his name on YouTube has a bunch of emojis in it. So anyway, here's the thing. I think I'm the Mike Mussina. I put a lot of thought into it. And then some people also put a lot of thought into it. And someone wrote, Mike Mussina is the perfect comp for Seth. Never the best, but always consistent. And you look back after 15 years and say, what a career he put together. Totally good with that. Basically in line with my thinking. Someone else wrote, Mike Mussina works because he peaked with the Orioles before he was on the Yankees, much like Seth peaked on SNL before he started late night. I care for it less, but I also appreciate you put in work. Got a bunch of other ones. Paul O'Neill, Jorge Posada, Greg Nettles. All very nice. Someone wrote in Kei Agawa, you. Someone wrote Mariano Rivera because you close NBC's nightly programming. The problem with Nettles, O'Neill, Posada, Mariano is they, unlike Mike Mussina, they all won rings. They were all champions. And if you've been following, you know, Corrections in the Emmys, a ring I do not have, but soon. Soon, oh soon I will have it and I shall be the Bernie Williams. I'm gonna go up, except just like he would. Play a little classical guitar. Also, someone said Mike Mussina was famous for almost throwing perfect games. Seth, what was your almost perfect game? I guess I'd say like, because Mussina's broken up by Carl Everett in the 9th inning, 2 outs. So I guess my perfect game would have been like the 2011 White House Correspondents' Dinner, but Donald Trump broke it up by being president twice. Okay, we can take down the Yankee logo. And like, when I say take it down, don't just like slide it down a little bit. Like, get it off. And why don't we throw up a little Death Star? And again, this probably goes without saying, but like when I say throw up a little Death Star, like don't animate like a cat coughing up a hairball, but instead when it comes out, it's a Death Star. Don't do that. So here's the thing, the Death Star's up because we're gonna talk about Moff Tarkin. There were a lot of comments about Moff Tarkin, and we're gonna address them all in a new correction segment we call Moff Talkin'.
Y'all ready for this?
Did we see it? I feel like we didn't see the opening graphic.
Y'all ready for this?
I feel like we didn't see it again. Now the question is, should I roll with it? But again, this is like the paper on the chair. I'm so confident this is gonna play. We haven't seen it, right? Have we seen the graphic? Alex, do we got it?
Yes.
New correction segment we call Moff Talkin'.
Y'all ready for this?
Amy, relieve Alex. He's done. His name isn't Moff. Moth, everyone, is a title. And that makes sense. Moth would be a super weird first name. Guess what his real first name is? Will Huff. Also, he's not a regular moth, Seth, they write. He's the Grand Moth. Turns out there's more than one moth in the sky. There's a council of moths. You know how they get all the moths together, Shoemaker? They turn on a street lamp. Moth pun!
Moth pun.
His home planet is Nagaram. And this is cool. Nagaram is an anagram for anagram. I had a really good joke last week about Moff talking to Darth, right? We all remember. Played off the classic Who's on First bit. And I did get, again, I'm a little worried about saying an improvement based on how Bavis played. But it did make me laugh because I said, Moff was like, basically said to Darth, sorry, not Will Huff. Will Huff said to Darth. Sorry, Will Huff said to Anakin, Jesus Christ. He's like, they've destroyed 2 bases. And they've moved. And then Darth said, where have they moved to? And he said, 3rd base. And then someone said, Darth should have said, what's the name of 3rd base? And then Moff would go, I don't know! Really jinxing these improvements. So there was a character, Moff is a title, but there was a character who had the last name Moff, Jack Moff. He was a smuggler, Jack Moff. He was a smuggler, not very good at it though, because he was always jerking around. He used to hang out with a rapscallion named of Carsagian Bates. We all remember Carsagian Bates, or as C-3PO called him, Master Bates. Master Bates was a pilot. Oh, he was a pilot! Because he had incredible digital dexterity. They let him control the stick, because, he's good at hand jobs. This has been Moff Talking.
Were
Y'all ready for
that
Someone said, hey, we need a new closing tag. Can you do something with a unicorn? Sure. So at the end, I think just me, and then just very slowly, a unicorn horn. Whatever's hardest. So a horn comes out, and then I think maybe just give me little pink star for eyes. We missed a Nick Cage movie with man in the title. Captain Corelli's Mandolin. So I'm gonna call our America's greatest Nick Cage expert. By the way, I wrote it. 11:46, will you be around today? And I haven't heard back. I've been asking what his favorite line was in Captain Corelli's Mandolin. Or just one answer. Probably shouldn't have put this last. Alex, get the Moff Talking thing ready. Win back my trust, Alex. Have it ready. Counting on you, Alex. Oh, you didn't answer, which means it's time for Moff Talking.
Y'all ready for this?
I feel like that was a nice long one. Kind of don't want it to be over. I feel like, once it's over, Drucker's gonna go home. Drucker, I found out today, Buck's kid. We're going on hiatus. See you in 3 weeks.